Hi, I'm Val, and welcome back to the Mind and Money podcast. I'm a financial planner.
And I'm Sherry, a financial coach, and today we're talking about ADHD taxes. These are things that add extra expenses to the lives of ADHDers that those neurotypicals don't have to worry about.
One thing that I see come up often with clients is having subscriptions that are reoccurring that they didn't know about, or paying for something that they may not even be using anymore. I had clients that had a storage unit that they were still being charged for, and until looking at the numbers, weren't aware of the bleeding money, if you will, that was sinking their ship, right? So every subscription, every payment that you have that you're not actually requiring or using anymore, think of it as a little hole in your ship that's letting more water in and it's sinking your ship. So we want to go through and do a bit of an audit on ourselves and patch up those holes and see, do we need this? If not, let's cancel it. Sometimes even I've had it where clients have canceled and been like, I haven't used this in X amount of time. And then they've been refunded, some of them, which has been great. Not always, but when you can, it's nice.
Yeah, and it's always worth a call to ask, especially for things that are annual subscriptions. So if you get dinged with an annual subscription and you're not using it and you want to cancel, you can cancel it and then reach out to customer service and just kill them with kindness and say, like, what can you do to help me out? Like, I'm not going to use it. And asking can be scary, but oftentimes you are able to do a chat and not have to make a phone call, because sometimes a phone call is not super fun. So being able to find those ways where you can email or reach out via chat to be able to say, like, hey, can I get a refund? And a lot of this extra spending can often be impulse buying too. So being able to take a minute and look around your space and think about, what are the things in that space that you're no longer using that used to be money?
We could probably do a whole episode. We will do a whole episode on impulse spending because there's so much there.
Yeah. And when you buy something, say you buy something for $50, you're not going to resell it for $50. So maybe you can resell it for $10 if you are even willing to go through the time of doing that. But being able to use those things as lessons for future spending when you get that urge to hit up that impulse buy and add to cart, because yes, everybody impulse buys, but we tend to be a lot higher with the impulse purchases with ADHD. So finding the systems that work for you to put boundaries around that impulse spending, because this can add a lot, and this can add a lot to credit card debt. And then that credit card debt has interest, and then it just keeps snowballing and can feel really, really overwhelming.
And the algorithm is super good at showing me what I need, but what I don't need, and also giving me a little link. And then, oh, my credit card's pre-saved. So look at that. Within moments, I can have that purchase made. But we will go more into impulse spending. Part of building on our last episode is when we're looking through where our money's going and really taking into account anything on credit cards, anything on bank accounts. And especially, I know I did, and I still do have multiple credit cards with different things going off of them. That system can work, but it can also be very overwhelming when you've got all of these and then an annual fee comes up on one and you weren't even using it. So to do that little audit and look at the things that are maybe reoccurring that you didn't even know you were still paying for, cancel them, take care of that, streamline things, trim the fat, whatever you want to call it. Yes.
So here's a challenge for you. Go cancel one subscription, just one. In your business, if you're an entrepreneur, or on the personal side, if you are not a business owner, and do something impactful with that money. So if you're canceling a $10 subscription, automate $10 going extra towards your debt or into a savings account so that that money is put to use. You're still spending the same amount of money, but you're getting a lot more bang for your buck. And like, the companies are trying to make it harder, but even though you might not be able to share a subscription, I'm looking at you, Netflix, they make it more difficult for you to share subscriptions. And maybe it's not trying to share, but maybe it's cycling through subscriptions as a household. So maybe you have Netflix for half of the year and then you switch over to Crave or another subscription. So you're able to see those different shows that you like, but not be subscribed to all of them all of the time, because
it's so rare that we're actually watching all of them all the time, right?
We're probably binge watching one show on one subscription
while paying for the other four.
Yeah. Yes. All the time.
Yes. And another piece of the ADHD expenses that come up that may not come up for those non-neurospicy humans is the cost of taking care of our mental health. And everyone's mental health is important. Absolutely. We all have it. We should all be taking care of it. But what I'm seeing more with clients is that therapy, of course, is a cost, medication, it might be time off of work. And time also as an entrepreneur, that's maybe like time, not time wasted, but time distracted from our business, which costs us. And I have experienced this firsthand, how Captain Distraction can really get in the way of things.
Yeah, our cell phones are, they're super convenient and
Mhm.
they can help our businesses, but having them typically within an arm's reach
Here we are.
means
Yes.
that once we get down that rabbit hole on social media, it can really take time away from the things that we want to do. And because a lot of our businesses actions can get done through social media and
Yes.
things like that for marketing, it's hard to just not use it. But losing time to distraction is a huge expense for individuals with ADHD, and being able to find those routines can be super helpful to reduce the cost of this ADHD tax.
You probably have it. I've done it. I do it. I'll go into my phone for something, whether it's a link or a picture, and I am not even close to getting that. By the time I realize it's been 15, 20 minutes and I've gone way off path. So really,
Maybe don't sit down. Maybe don't go
Yes.
like into that spot where you tend to spend more time scrolling. Like, figure out
Yes.
what works for you. And I've heard recommendations, maybe not so relevant to Canada, but like, don't take your shoes off if you need to get shit done, or like, don't put on those comfy clothes, or put on an outfit that you would be able to like go out to a function in, so you feel more like professional and less like casual. Can
Yes.
help with some of those distractions.
I was actually working with a client this week, and I asked for something, and I think it was the link to her budget. And she was like, "Oh yeah, I've just got to go grab my phone. It's in the other room, because if it's in this room, I won't get work done." And I was like, "Oh," so totally removing the phone from the room.
Yep.
I was telling my sister on the weekend, I left my phone in the vehicle and was inside doing whatever, cleaning and stuff for about 2 hours. And I was like, wow, that was so productive. And then I realized it's because my phone was not with me.
Yep. Yeah, I've recently been trialing an app to help me reduce my screen time, and if it keeps going well, then I think I might put it out there. You can actually create groups of like friends, so I might pursue that. Like, if we can collectively spend less time on our phones as ADHD individuals, and especially ADHD entrepreneurs, like, holy shit, we're going to get so much done.
So much. Yes. So looking at those extra costs that we have to take into account for ourselves. And then we go into the grander scheme of things, which is potentially paying higher interest rates because we have lower credit scores, because
we can miss bills because we're disorganized. We can
payments.
Not check the mail. We can avoid that stack of mail. Sometimes
Yes.
bills go to your inbox. Sometimes they go to your mailbox. Sometimes they might go to your mom's house. I don't know where they're going.
Yeah.
But missing a bill payment for a bill that's on your credit report, that is a huge negative impact. And you have to make so many more regular payments on time to reverse the impact of that one missed payment. So this can be huge, because I have heard individuals paying 25% on car loans because of shit credit, and being able to get access to those funds. I see these advertisements, guaranteed car loan,
Right.
And
bad credit, it's still yours.
And yes, we might need those things. We might need a car to get to work, but a 25% interest rate on a car loan can be debilitating and can make it take so much more money each month and so many more years to pay that off. So the cost of high interest rates on mortgages, car loans, all of those things significantly add to the overall cost of financing that item. So being able to get organized with your finances, have a system in place, automate bills if you can, if that works for you, to be able to look at your credit score and work on improving it so you're not paying those like insane interest rates on debt and lending.
Our credit scores are so interesting because It is this eggshell relationship where if you do one wrong thing, it's an excavator taking like a scoop and digging a hole. And then to fill that hole in, we have a spade. So we have to like fill it so much more.
That's a good analogy. And I know we say this all the time, but we'll probably do an episode on credit scores too, because there's so much misinformation out there, because sometimes even doing good things can hurt your credit score, which is super shitty and frustrating. But knowing those things and knowing that they're coming when you do those good things is going to help you to be able to plan for them and decide on the timing if you are in the market for a car or a mortgage or something like that, to delay that good thing that can impact your credit score in a negative way.
And as business owners, I'm sure we've both experienced this or seen it with our clients, is whether it's lack of structure or not having a system, maybe not like knowing the value of ourselves, our business revenue takes a hit because we miss sending invoice. We don't follow up on invoices.
Overthinking can limit our business income because we can have 70 ideas and no brain capacity to actually see them through, not seeing things through to completion. Yeah. So if you have an idea to launch this great product or service, and then you get lost in the details because that's not the fun stuff. And those perfectionist tendencies, maybe we put together something and we're ready to hit launch, but first we have to check all of the things and we have to make sure it's perfectly polished. And in a lot of situations, done is better than perfect. So I encourage you to push those things out into the market if you've got great business ideas as far as products and services. And then another one is rejection sensitivity. We can have a conversation with a potential client or customer, and then they say they're interested in our services. We feel a good connection. We want to work with them. They say they want to work with us. And then it's crickets and we don't hear anything. And because we overthink things and they hate us, they don't want to work with us, they don't see the value in our services,
right,
that can lead to us not reaching out, sending that email, that text messages, making that phone call to say, oh, hey, I haven't heard from you. Here's a little reminder. Do you need any more information to move forward? And especially if we are also working with business owners that have ADHD, the reminders, like, they don't hate you. They don't hate you. No. They just need a reminder.
Yes. And I was just talking to a realtor this morning about how, as an entrepreneur, the journey has been so much more about personal development than I ever thought it would be. And from like in those pieces becomes that valuing ourselves, not being afraid to reach out because we know that we can offer good things. And sometimes it is just that reminder that they need it. And that imposter syndrome that comes up and goes, are you good enough? Like, are you sure? Is there someone else out there doing it better? And it's like, no, like you have to remember your why and remind yourself and have little tricks that you can kind of play on yourself to be like, nope, I'm very good at what I do. They don't hate me. I can reach out. Like this is a good thing to do.
Yes. And those voices inside our head can often lead to undervaluing our services. So that imposter syndrome, that rejection sensitivity can mean, oh, well, so-and-so's charging $500 for this, but I'm only going to charge $200 because they're further ahead, they're better, they're all of those things we tell ourselves. But the truth is that person is just not in their head as much, and they're able to see and understand their value. And what's interesting is when we become the expert at something and it's easy for us, we tend to undervalue it because it's easy. Like for us,
we spend so much time in it that we think everyone's brain spends that much time in it, but we have to remember that they don't.
And being able to be that expert and have that thing be easy to you doesn't mean that somebody else isn't going to value it because that other person isn't the expert in the topic. There's a reason they reached out to you. Yes. There is a reason that they're interested in working with you because you're that expert. Like I love my clients who are amazed when I do something in an Excel spreadsheet, and it's like, I love that. It's not their area of expertise, and I certainly have a lot more I can learn, but I love Excel, Google Sheets, being able to put a quick formula in and seeing they're like, oh, how did you do that? Like, I love it because I'm leaning into what I love and I'm supporting them in an area that they have a gap in. So if you love it, if your job is easy, don't overthink it. You're still awesome at what you do and people need you.
Another way that I see charges extra expenses through ADHD management, if you will, of our finances is overdraft fees, NSF fees, late fees added on to different payments. So, and I've even had NSF before, and I called because I was like, shoot, I forgot that bill was coming out of that account. And it was when things were not as organized and there wasn't a system in place, because you're like spinning too many plates and one falls.
And being able to get organized with your finances, having a budget, having a system, including automation, so that you know you can avoid these fees, because these fees, honestly, it breaks my heart because they're kicking you while you're down. So if you had an account that something was coming out of and there wasn't enough funds in there, and then your bank charges you $45 because there wasn't enough money in there to cover the bill, that just leaves you $45 short from last time, and being able to have that $45 would have been really good. And interest charges, and the biggest thing for me too is when you get stuck in credit card debt and you are living very close to the edge on your balance, being over your limit can be another huge expense. So
yes,
it's just like they're just dominoes and they keep knocking down and end up with you in a deep hole, which can be overwhelming. So I know there can be a lot of shame around your money and a lot of feelings of overwhelm and avoidance. But peeling back the layers, starting to look at your reality and having a plan for your money and implementing systems that work for your brain and how it works to make your life easier. It's like cleaning out your closet, and it gets a whole hell of a lot messier before it gets cleaner.
Yes.
And
clearer.
And we can see sometimes we get bogged down in the middle of that task because it feels even more overwhelming. But if we stay the course and we work to implement systems for our money that are easier for us, then you can avoid so many of these ADHD taxes that are making your life more expensive than it needs to be. And life is expensive enough. So being able to avoid some of these taxes and have more money in your bank account for the things you love is really what we want for you today.
And starting now is better than starting never. So don't be hard on yourself. Just start.
Just start. If you did listen to it already, go back and listen to our last episode on how to get started with building a budget, and come back to listen to this one in another week or month to just get some reminders, pick up some other nuances for some of those things that you can do to avoid some ADHD taxes today and into the future. I am Sherry.
And I'm Val. Thanks for listening.
Have a great day.